Good afternoon, cigar lovers, and welcome to another review by me, Tam, hosted by the gentleman at Cigarsindia.in, India's largest and most trusted online retailer of cigars. And today I face the daunting challenge of reviewing, and when I say daunting, I'm just exaggerating it. As I said, it's a tough life. But someone's got to do it, and I'm glad it's me. Today I'll be reviewing the El Rey del Mundo Choix Supreme, and this is going to be a very interesting smoke. El Rey del Mundo in Spanish means King of the World, and this cigar does have some very kingly features, I might add, again, which I'll go through as we go through and smoke the cigar, and hopefully we can shed some light on past glories and perhaps the faded present, which is not typical of its Cuban brethren. This is a very delicate cigar. I just start by saying something to that effect, and it should be appreciated in that context. So here it is, close up of the cigar. It's a Pareja, and it's a 5 by 48 ring gauge. You could say a Robusto size in effect. Now, this cigar was actually created and founded by a German with a Spanish-sounding name. The owner's name was Emilio Olmsted, and he registered this in the 1850s or thereabouts with also another famous but very under the radar Cuban cigar, the Sancho Panza, and I think it was actually about 1848 when this was done. This also was transferred, or ownership changed many times over the years, and about 1870 or thereabouts, it was transferred again to another emigre from Spain this time, by the name of Antonio Iones, not to be confused with Ramon Iones, but Antonio Iones. And he actually, you could say, wanted to give the brand its name, and also its quality. Now, there are lots of stories about this, whether it was actually closed and reset up by Antonio Iones, or whether there was transference of ownership from upon the death of Emilio Olmsted to Antonio Iones. It's all, hearsay and arguments and counter-arguments, but suffice to say that yes, you had Emilio Olmsted, and then subsequently from about 1870 onwards you had Antonio Iones. And I believe he actually chose the name El Rey del Mundo, and he actually wanted to make this, as its name suggested, King of the World, by producing a superlative quality cigar with some of the choicest and best tobaccos coming from the Aroma region, and I think he accomplished that. So anyway, I'll go on a bit more about this cigar, its history and its background in a short while, but let's look at the construction and just the overall impression I have of the cigar. In terms of look, it's got some residual oils. It's just beautifully kept, but then again, you never have that kind of problem with the lads at Cigarsindia.in. They make sure that their cigars are very well looked after, and there's no disappointment in this. Silky smooth, no tears, nothing in it, and I can just smell the aged aroma coming out from the cigar now. It just smells wonderful. Aged leather, some hint of tobacco, and just sweetness as well, a honey kind of sweetness coming through the cigar. So this is, for me, in terms of look and in terms of aroma, it's already got me over to its side. It just promises a lot, and I'm sure I won't be disappointed in that. Now, actually cutting it, I'll just try and give my take on it for a pre-light draw and see what it has to offer. No peppery qualities or spices coming through, nothing harsh, just pleasant, Cuban tobacco with that hint of an aroma of leather coming through. There's a hell of a lot of sweetness coming through on this smoke. Some commentators have described this as a honey sweetness. I don't know whether my palate is up there to pick that honey sweetness. I'm certainly getting raisins. Yeah, raisins and a darker summer fruits coming through. There's that taste of aged tobacco, there's that aroma of aged leather, and just the sweetness of raisins, and it's like a wine. So besides the raisiny quality, my friend, when he had a pre-light draw on this as well, he picked up there's a tangy element to it, fruity, punky kind of tangy element, and this has it, and in no way is it unpleasant. It just it's very evocative, and I think it does promise a lot. So, lighting it. The aroma of the smoke is wonderful as well. Compared to other Cuban cigars, in terms of the smoke and the output, well, it initially seems light, and it kind of seems mild as well. It's not as overpowering as some of the other vitolas of Cuban cigars. The smoke is quite light. It's starting to pick up a bit. It's quite pleasant actually, that smell. It's not too harsh, but it has a bit of bite to it. In terms of the first few puffs, the taste and character of the cigar on the palate is very, very pleasant indeed. There's nothing harsh about it to begin with. There are some tannins kicking in, but it was just momentary. Now I'm picking up a lot of residual sweetness coming through. A licorice kind of sweetness, not a sugary kind of sweetness. Yeah, licorice. I think that's the closest approximation. So what I was getting on the pre-light draw in terms of taste, that raisin, that's kind of picked up, and there's a piquancy to it, which is giving that licorice sweetness. All in all, very pleasant so far. The flavors are very subtle in this cigar. As I said, I'm picking up a lot of licorice aftertaste on this, so it has that bite to it, which is not overly sweet. So I'll just let this settle in for a short while and just give you some more of a brief idea about what this cigar is about. So, as I said, it was founded about 1848, changed hands over several occasions, and about 1905 it changed hands again, once in 1905 and once once again in 1940. 1905 is a seminal time for this because it was bought by a company called Diaz Jamones and Company, and they have some amazing cigars within their portfolio. Not only the El Rey del Mundo, but Sancho Panza, and this is one, if a super premium cigar, Don Candida, which it doesn't exist anymore, and if you do happen to find one of those cigars, then treasure it, because they are considered one of the most super premium cigars, if you can get your hands on those. So the 1940s and 1950s, this is a time where you could actually describe it as the golden era for this cigar, Vitola. It gained such a phenomenal reputation, and it was in such demand. Even though the production wasn't very high on this cigar, it was in such demand. It was also known as the most expensive cigar in the world during that period, and it was predominantly purchased by the rich, the powerful, and the famous. And they would always go for an El Rey del Mundo over pretty much any other cigar. From the 1950s onwards, post-revolution, 60s, again, it just went from strength to strength. It was always considered and always remained at the high end of cigar production, and as a favorite amongst cigar connoisseurs. Zeno Davidoff, for example, described it in various pieces of literature as a noblesse oblige, which means a noble essential. And he suggested that this should be in any cigar connoisseur's humidor, at least if not one, several of those, along with some other cigars, but definitely this should be in there as a cigar of choice. The ash has fallen down now. In terms of flavor, it's picking up in strength. I'm not getting the tannins anymore. I'm getting some spiciness, a bit of pepperiness. This is on the edge, on the two sides of my tongue. But in the center, it still retains that sweet quality. Just imagine licking a manila envelope, or several manila envelopes, the residual sweetness, that's the kind of sweetness I'm picking up from this. And right at the very start, that licorice still remains present. The aroma on the smoke is just wonderful now. All of the characteristics which I've just mentioned are not overpowering, they're very subtle. So it's kind of difficult to actually pick up some of the flavors and characteristics from this cigar, simply because of the smoothness and mellowness, and also the subtlety that it's actually exhibiting. You really do have to concentrate when you're smoking this cigar, because you can pick up all these flavors and characters, but it does make you work for that. You are required to make sure you concentrate and put the effort in trying to identify, okay, am I picking up these kind of characteristics, this licorice, this sweetness, this tanginess. Although we've been trying to pace the draw on this cigar, it's just going down so quickly, but that's not a bad thing. It's just, to really appreciate this cigar, you need to be very measured and show it some respect. Now, I've said that once or twice about certain other cigars, which is true, in my view anyway, and I think this cigar certainly deserves that kind of respect as well, just so that it can demonstrate and you maximize the quality of the enjoyment you have with the cigar, because it does have so much to offer, but it needs to be treated gently. No aggressive puffing and no, taking big draws of big lungfuls of smoke, because it will just overheat and you won't enjoy, I think, the smoking process as much. So a very measured approach to smoking this cigar. Have one or two puffs, but take it slowly. In terms of the characters and what people have generally described about this, besides what I've just said about the honey, the raisins and the licorice quality, there are some other outstanding features of this. Some have actually described that sweetness as a honey sweetness, and a friend, he also suggested black olives with a sort of tangy element to it. Other characteristics which I've picked up are very fresh and floral overtones. There is a tangy quality coming through, and I think you get a lot of bean flavors coming through as well. One of the reviewers suggested burnt toast. There is that, but if you look at it in terms of bean flavors, I'm thinking coffee bean, vanilla to bring that sweetness in, and also cocoa bean. Although I wouldn't say it is as pronounced, the cocoa bean that is. Describe the aroma of the smoke of this cigar and also the taste of it as it's very hard to describe, but it's easily recognizable. So putting that into words is a difficulty, and I think that's a conundrum with this cigar. That it's just subtlety. It's just offering so much, but in such a restrained and toned down manner. Generally, I'd cut at this point and request you to come back in a short while after I've gone through some more of the cigar, but there's so much going on here. Trying to identify these subtle flavors and characters of the cigar, it just means that I have to constantly speak because there is a hell of a lot going on with this cigar. It's changing very subtly. The sweetness has kind of dropped, that licorice flavor is picked up again. The pepper and that spicy quality has dropped again. So it offers, with each puff, some subtle variation, I think, which is a revelation and a joy. Having said that, please bear with me, I'll get back to you in a short while. Well, this has gone down quite a bit now, and it's gone down wonderfully. Again, trying to be as measured as possible in terms of drawing on it, simply so that it can release as much of the flavors. It's got an amazing aftertaste. Again, I've described this in previous reviews, where just getting some air on the tongue, the palate, and it just produces a different taste experience. We're trying to identify that. Again, I got that licorice sweetness coming through, but there's also that refreshing menthol kind of quality. It's not overtly strong, but it's very refreshing and pleasant nonetheless. This would be a good daytime smoke. In fact, probably a very good mid-morning smoke. If you have a light breakfast, give it about half an hour, 1 hour thereafter. Your palate is still relatively fresh and clean, and I think it would be at its optimal time to actually pick up the subtle nuances. Two things I forgot to mention about this particular brand. First is, I did mention that there was it has some amazing stablemates. I forgot to include, as part of within its stable, is the Rafael Gonzalez. Again, a very mild smoke, offering very subtle and underground, you could say, underground kind of flavors. Very, very delicate, very mild, very subtle. So, and the other thing which I forgot was the factory that it's actually made in. It's believe it or not, it's made in the Romeo and Julieta factory. Contrary to what people generally assume, that there's a bespoke factory for each particular vitola, that's not the case anymore. You get certain factories making certain types of cigars, and the Romeo and Julieta actually is responsible for producing this. So we're coming to the end of it. This has been a wonderful cigar. I've smoked these before and I knew what to expect. Rich but subtle aroma from the smoke, and very understated taste profile, but complex nonetheless. Preferable to be smoked on a very clean palate if you want to appreciate the cigar. If you want to complement it and just enjoy it, It's always good with some good company. In terms of drinking companions, perhaps a nice lowland whiskey, which again is quite floral and won't overpower this cigar. Generally things which are not too overpowering in terms of strength, because they'll just inundate this with too much flavor, and you lose the point of actually smoking and enjoying the cigar. You get more of the flavors of the other things coming through rather than the subtleties and complexities of this particular. Great aging potential, and you shouldn't really be dissuaded by people saying, oh, it's got to have the tannins and it's got to have that rich initial oily kind of character to it at the very start for a good aging potential. If you understand that this is a cigar that is delicate to begin with and very understated, then it's only going to improve after 10, 20, 30 years or thereabouts. Getting very toasted, that sweetness coming through, the air on the palate of the tongue is just brilliant. Sweetness, again, I'm picking up that licorice. Strength-wise, I'd say between 2 out of 5 or 3 out of 5. I'd say more along the 2 rather than the 3. Depending on what time of the day you smoke it. I think maybe in the morning, maybe a 3, in the afternoon, thereabouts a 2. In terms of marks out of 10, I'd give it about 9, because it just is a wonderful smoke. Hope you like the review. Hope you like the channel. Please do subscribe. Cigars India is on Facebook and Twitter as well, so give them a like on that and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Thank you for your time and hope you like the review. Hi guys, sorry this is a bit of a postscript. I generally finish off, but I just wanted to add that this is it's just an unbelievably good cigar. It's the aftertaste, it leaves something there, it just lingers, the presence is there. It's just so subtle but ever present, and in a very pleasant way as well. This definitely, it deserves that title of King of the World, because as a cigar it is a Toffs cigar, and that's Toffs. Wonderful smoke. It really has a lot of character. It has that breeding and just that history and pedigree to it that it should be actually more popularized actually and appreciated for what it has to offer. End of my review.